All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to attend a Mayo Credit Union Wellness Wednesday session. Today we're going to talk cybersecurity, safety, and wellness. My hair out of the way so it doesn't rub the mic too much. My name is Stephanie McGraphic. I'm the Enterprise Risk Management Specialist here at the Credit Union. I have worked in the financial industry for going on almost 20 years now. I have been working in anti-fraud for almost 10 years, and I'm a certified fraud examiner. Today's presentation was created in partnership with Jamie Petty. She is one of our technology specialists here at the Credit Union, and she is advanced cybersecurity certified. So this was definitely a partnership. She is not here with us today. She was needed elsewhere, but if we have any questions that I can't answer, I will definitely make sure we get those answers for you from her. So today we're going to talk about the importance of cyber wellness, understanding cyber threats, cyber hygiene best practices, securing our personal devices, secure online transactions, and some additional resources. So let's talk about the importance of cyber health. So there's really no one accepted definition about like what cybersecurity is or isn't, right? Because cybersecurity is really broad, and it really encompasses the processes and technologies that go into preventing, detecting, and responding to attacks against your digital data, devices, and systems. So when we talk about cyber health or hygiene, this is really referring to the things that you can do to improve your online security and maintain your system health. So we're talking about adapting a security-centric mindset and practices that are going to help put your health for financial health and your cyber and digital health at the top of your front mind. So why is it important? So unfortunately, I wish I had the 2024 data for you. Unfortunately, we don't have those stats yet. They haven't been posted. So from 2023, over 880,000 cybercrime complaints were reported to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. And what I can tell you is from 2024, there was a huge increase in fraud. So I know that number is not even close to what people experienced last year. So we're all vulnerable to cybercrime. No one is immune. Digital technology is always changing, and the attacks are getting more and more sophisticated. Cybersecurity is important because it really helps us take advantage of securing our data from theft and damage. And this includes your sensitive data like your personal financial information, your PII, your personal private information, your health data, your government data, and your organizational data. So $12.5 billion were reported in loss for 2024. This is the 2024 stat I do have for you. It was a 25% increase in fraud losses reported in the US last year. Now keep in mind, only about 1/3 of people report due to not knowing to report, embarrassment, frustration, the process. So that number isn't really representative completely, but it gives us an idea. So for 2023, over 350 million victims in cyber incidences. 3,025 total compromises, 72% increase from 2021. So that was from 2021 to 2023. 2021 was considered our all-time high, and we had a 72% increase in 2023.
What do you mean by total compromises?
So the total number of compromises that people reported for like data incidences. So like breaches, data, identity theft. Mm-hmm. $1.5 trillion is what the earnings of cyber criminals are reported to be for 2023. And last year, for 2024, 81% of the United States had their healthcare data compromised in one of the largest medical data breaches ever. There were 14 total data breaches. 2 of them were the significant ones. And it's estimated that the total cost is $5.9 million for a data breach. And we'll have $10.5 trillion spent and out to cybercrime by the end of 2025. Oh, I skipped one. So when we look at like the top incidences, so we're looking at August of 2023, the types of crimes that we're looking at are like online scams. So this is going to be phishing, romance scams, and I'll add to this investment scams. Cryptocurrency investments right now are hot just because of the environment, what people think about it, and the scams involved with them is a huge factor in this. Financial breaches will add into their healthcare breaches because of last year. Virus and malware, identity theft and fraud, malvertising, just to give you an idea of how it breaks out. Question?
So I get the phishing and romance, and if they can get gift cards, it's a no-brainer. But I'm kind of confused on the other where they're asking for money and not through a gift card. How, I mean, do they get caught? You give all the statistics of people who committed these things.
Yep. So the question is about talking about like romance scams and how they get the money and if they're getting caught, correct? Oh, such a loaded question. Yes, some people get caught. I would say the rate of getting caught is not as high as any of us would like to see it. On the positive, I can say that like the UK is doing some really great things in this space to really help protect their citizens. And I'm hopeful that the United States will hopefully start to follow suit because they've seen significant decreases. Well, they're decreasing and we're increasing because, you know, the lowest hanging fruit's where it goes. Yeah. So the topics we're going to talk today, when we look at the cyber threats that are most impacting consumers, everybody's going to have a different opinion, right? We could spend an entire day talking about the different types of threats that are out there. So what we're going to do is go through the ones that we feel like you can do something about, something that is a risk to give you the general knowledge about what it is, and then so you can take action to help protect yourself against it. So we're going to talk through social engineering, phishing, password attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, malware and viruses, and then deepfakes and AI. So when I talk about social engineering threats, social engineering is the idea of human hacking. It's manipulating someone into giving information that's private, confidential, useful, or sometimes actual giving funds, right? It's the social manipulation using human behavior and psychology against them. And typically this is going to happen using 3 different avenues. So first you have computers, which is phishing, and we're going to get more into the specific details about phishing. And then there's pop-up attacks. This is going to be like your Windows pop-up that appear, your computer starts making a lot of noise at you, those kind of attacks. Then there's use of mobile devices. This is smishing, using text messages. Malicious applications, so using apps that are downloaded on your phone to do other malicious things, collect data. And then there's using humans, which is vishing, which is like phone calls. Tailgating, this is where you're actually going to follow someone into a restricted area that you don't have access to gain access to that area. Shoulder surfing, so you're sitting at a coffee shop and someone's going to sit behind you and watch what you're doing and collect information that you're entering in as you're doing it. And then there's dumpster diving, where they're going to go fishing through dumpsters, trash bins, in areas where you work, live, for confidential, sensitive information that can be used. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. So when we talk about social engineering, the typical pattern is going to be the social engineer is going to pick its target, it's going to collect information about them, and then it's going to start a conversation. It's going to be an engagement. This isn't like a one-way thing, it's a two-way conversation. So they're going to learn to collect data, and then they're going to take that data back, do some more research, pick out where they're going to use that data, and then go pose as a legitimate source and try to get more information or use that data for their nefarious purposes. Our next threat that we're going to go through is phishing. Now, throughout the presentation, I just want to make it clear, the examples that I use are some of my own personal ones I found, and some that have been shared with me and given permission to me to use from some very, very confident, strong, empowered victims. People who have gone through it and want to use that as a way to help others not have the same experience. So I commend those people for allowing that and providing that permission to use the resources and the examples to help others. So when we talk about deceptive phishing, this is the phishing that you're used to hearing about. They're going to pose as a legitimate source, use as much detail as they can without being detected to fly under the radar. They're going to use heavily worded emails or messages that are going to trigger an emotional response. And it's the one that these ones are trying to use as much as they can to get you to take action without avoiding that detection. So in this example, you'll see immediate action needed, your files are about to be deleted, last attempt, your account's suspended, deleted. So they're using those trigger words that are going to create that kind of knee-jerk emotional reaction, that response. Then we have spear phishing. Very much like deceptive phishing, but they're going to get more detailed. They're going to try to use more information. They're going to personalize these. They're going to use company, name, title, your name. And I tried to take out people's information, but I did notice sometimes I missed it here and there. But this is a fake name that they use, right? They're trying to provide a confirmation code. Down here, invoice number. So they're getting more and more detailed. These are both emails. And then we have whaling. So whaling is going to target high-end executives, board members, CEOs, people who have higher authority in organizations. They're going to work to compromise their email, and then once they're into that email, they take it a step further, and they'll send out messages asking for fraudulent wires to be sent out. In this example here, you can see, they're asking them to send a $157,000 wire to these details, and they're posing as somebody with authority. Things to watch for is, the urgency, and then you're looking at kind of where it's coming from. Is that the true source you're used to? If they actually take over an account, then you're going to have to look at a second step of verification, like going outside of the email and actually walking to their office or picking up the phone and calling. Another way they use high authority figures or executives is through targeted messaging to get you to get gift cards, to do them favors. They use that authority to try to have you take action. In this situation, they perceive to be a figure of authority. I've had this happen with my fellow board members on things. I've had it happen with chief officers, and they are reaching out. They're like, oh, I want you to do this for me. Can you help me out really quick? And I played with this scammer for quite a while to try to get the length of the message, but don't do that. Don't play with scammers, okay? I'm not encouraging you to do that. But I wanted to get the example of how these gift card scams work and kind of how they walk you through, like, I need you to do this for me quick. Run to your quick grocery store. And they kind of keep you talking. All right, the next one is vishing. This is very similar to the first two, but it's using the voicemail. They're using the phone. They're trying to create that engagement in the conversation. These are just voicemail captures of some vishing messages. And both of them are offering huge discounts that trigger that it's too good to be true. I don't know about you, but my utility companies, my cable companies never really offered me 40% off or 50% off, right? So it's just one of those methods they use. Smishing is text message. Some of these might seem familiar to you. They're going to use reputable authority figures, brands, and information to try to have you click on a link, take an action, follow something, so that they can direct you to a different page to collect sensitive information. In this example here, the best thing you can do is check, where is it coming from? We're .org, not a .com. Same here, look at this weird email, authority 00SEL, check the links before you click them. When you see stuff like this, go outside of wherever it's coming from and go to the normal way that you contact your trusted organization. Go to the number on the back of your card, their website, things like that. In this example here, my Verizon, same thing, weird link that it's going to direct you to a malicious page, try to capture your login credentials and other information. Here's two other examples that have been really popular in the area lately. So again, checking where they're coming from, international, phone number and space, paying a toll bill, tolls, both of them immediate actions you can avoid, keep your license, links to click, okay, high trigger stuff. And then the last one is farming. So farming is taking things a step further. When they figure out that we've caught on to their phishing techniques, they move on to farming, which is going further and attacking the IP itself. So they're gonna, and we'll talk a little bit how they get in, but they're gonna get into your connection between you and the real source, and they're going to push out like a fake link or a fake IP to get in between you. All right, so when we talk about phishing and spam, a lot of people collapse the two, and they can be very similar, but they are different. So when we look at spam emails, typically they're unwanted advertisement. You probably signed up for at some point. They're usually very broad, sent to millions of people. They include links that are mostly like to legitimate websites offering products and services. They don't require immediate action. They don't usually contain attachments, and you can just mark them as spam and delete them. Okay, when it comes to a phishing attack, they're wanting your information. They're asking for your credit card, your account number, your bank information, your login details. They're often targeted, so they're going to be sent to a specific person or group. They might have your name in it. They're going to have malicious links or websites that are going to direct you to download malicious software onto your computer, your device, or have you to a malicious website where you're going to enter information. They're going to have that sense of urgency, and those should be deleted and reported. So only 2.3% of spam is actually phishing attacks. So there is a pretty significant difference. They can be unsolicited, both of them. They can both be harmful, and they both can be illegitimate. So the next type of cyber attack we want to talk about is password attacks. So when a password attack happens, it's the process that they're looking to obtain your username and your password. That's what they're trying to do. That's the goal. And the first way they do this is a dictionary attack. So this is where they're going to take they have a list of combinations of passwords, and they're going to take that predefined list and then try to figure out which one's yours. Just going to test combinations of the list they already have to kind of figure out which one's yours. And the list may belong to multiple people, so they may have several people that they have the list for, and they're just going to figure out who they can get into. Then you have a brute force attack. So a brute force attack is where, again, they have that predefined list, but now they're going to continue to try and guess and go over and over and over again until they get in. This type of attack will work every time. They will eventually get in. But what stops them is when your companies that you have your accounts with have security measures in place, like how many times you can enter in your password and username before they lock you out. That's what's going to stop these kind of attacks. And then the last is hash cracking. So passwords are typically stored in something that's called a hash. It's a string of random characters that then the password is pushed into and mixed up and thrown around. So in hash cracking, they're trying to determine what the password was that was used to create that hash. The next type of attack is man-in-the-middle attack. So this attack is essentially a form of digital eavesdropping. So the attacker on this one is going to intercept communication between either a user and a website or a user and another user. For example, if you have a computer that makes a connection to the internet and the data is sent from point A, your computer, to point B, which is the service or the website, and there's vulnerabilities that can allow the attacker to get in between this transmission and read them. Okay, so that's what the man in the middle is. There's a few forms of this. The first is ID spoofing. So this is where they're going to change that source IP address that initiates that initial IP, and then they're going to make the target believe that they're really communicating with the legitimate site. And then there's session hacking, and this is where you have someone malicious that's going to take control of your session as you're communicating back and forth. They're going to get in between it, and they're going to hijack that session and take over. And then there's replay. So the replay is very similar to the session hijack, but what they're doing is once they've hijacked the session and they're in there, they're going to take the information that's coming in and they're going to manipulate it, take it, change it, adjust it, and then push back out something else that fits their purposes and needs. Okay. So the next type of threat we're going to go through is malware and viruses. These are terms that you hear all the time, and many of us probably don't know what they mean. So malware is a software that's designed to cause disruption to a computer, server, client, or network, and it's going to leak information, gain unauthorized access to systems, and could deprive you of access to your own information. This is also one that's going to unknowingly interfere with your computer's security and privacy. So I call it disruption and mayhem. That's malware, okay? Viruses are malicious software that infiltrate and damage computer systems. So infiltrate and damage is what the virus is. So the following are all different types of viruses. So we talk about keyloggers. It's a virus that's going to collect your keystrokes in the background without your knowledge. It's going to get your passwords, your usernames. Spyware is one that's going to go in and gather information for specific details or targets or information that they're looking for without you knowing. Ransomware is going to have, like, this is like a message that pops up on your computer. Sometimes your screen will go dark, there might be a lot of noise, and they're going to lock everything down, encrypt it, keep you from getting access to it, and then ask for a fee to recover it. Then there's Trojan horses. So these look innocent, but they have malicious intent. The most dangerous are banking Trojans that we're seeing right now with Android devices. And what happens is you go to your Google Play Store and you download an app. It looks like it's a normal app, like a QR code scanner. Could look like it's Instagram, but it's a fake Instagram. And what that app is doing is it's downloading data onto your phone to collect information as you're entering it, and sometimes even putting overlays on your other apps so that when you're logging into things, it's collecting those credentials. And then we have adware, advertisingware, malware. Scroll down here. This involves like online shopping and online advertising. And what they're going to do is utilize this to, if you click on something, it could implant malicious software onto your devices. A lot of times what's happening now is they're going to go out and buy websites that look almost exact copies of trusted brands. And then they're going to pay an overbid for the sponsored ads to have them pushed to the top of your Google search. And as much as Google is continuously trying to fight this, they are getting through the verification methods through Google and getting their ads and pages published and sponsored. Okay, just making sure we're hitting everything. And then the last piece is worms. So the idea of a worm is it gets into one computer and it's going to replicate and spread to every other device on that network, wreaking havoc as it goes. Okay. And then the last area that I want to cover for the cyber threats is deepfake and AI. So from your wearable fitness trackers to the things that track your sleeping pattern, your spam filters on your accounts, your video cameras that alert you to somebody being at your door, AI is everywhere, and it does a lot of great things for us. It also comes with some nefarious purposes that are being used as well. So deep fakes and AI are the using manipulated or generated images and content that are hyper-realistic, like videos, voice, using deep advanced machine learning and artificial intelligence technology to then create misleading or manipulating images, videos, etc. And the idea is to really convince the consumer that it's a real source, that it's real information. So we've seen a lot of examples in the media of these in the last years, like the Pope in his white puffy jacket, fake news with bombing the Pentagon and the White House, and we're even seeing scammers and con artists now use it to say, I didn't do it, that's an AI picture. They're trying to get out of things that they did commit crimes with and saying that real photos are AI. So this technology is getting harder and harder to detect. So now they can use AI to really create fake people. And when we look at pictures online, if people are real, can you spot a fake if you see one? So we're gonna I have like 4 little faces here. We're gonna say this is 1 and 2. And I want you to shout out for me which one you think is real. Number 1 or number 2? 2? Okay. Number 1. Okay. Here's my next one. Which one do you think is real? 1 or 2? 2? 2? It's number one. Okay. Here's my next one. Which one do you think is real? One or two? I'm going to say one.
That's probably going to be two.
One. It's two. Okay, last one. Which one here do you think is real? One or two? Two? One. It's one. Okay? So the technology is getting better and better. So when you're talking to somebody online, when you're meeting somebody online, make sure you're doing your research. Do reverse Google image searches, search their name, look them up, look for everything you can find about them to try to determine if they're real. When you're looking at images, you're gonna look for oddities. So sometimes AI does a really good job of missing pieces of your glasses, forgetting a finger, adding an extra finger, mismatching jewelry, right? Those are things you can watch for in your background. You're gonna look for weird or distorted plants or buildings in the background, writing that's been like flipped or turned. Yeah, question up here.
Yeah, I guess my biggest confusion as we go through this, and you're asking us, it's like everybody's using social media, that they're using a source to prevent it, to put this on their phone or their laptop or their device, some device. Why don't they take the ownership of marking it up front so that instead of having everybody that's using that one, oh, I'm gonna go do this much research, I'm gonna do this much, why not just right up front?
Yeah, so the question is, we're asking you to pick stuff out. Why are the places that house these images and these profiles and where people meet each other, why are they not being more accountable to detect this and pull them down? I think that is an amazing question, and I would love to continue to call out all of those social media platforms for exactly that, for their lack of what they're doing, because they're not doing enough.
They're the experts.
They're the experts. And if you report stuff, there's been many incidences where people have a hard time getting fake profiles or profiles that have been taken over down. So the best we can do is, as consumers, continue to be the loud voice that tells them they need to do more. So, all right, so let's move on here to some videos and some audio. So I'm gonna play an audio clip here about Johnny Cash singing some not Johnny Cash songs.
Hello, I'm not Johnny Cash. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Oh, come on Barbie, let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world.
Let's do Spice Girls.
If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Make it last forever, friendship never ends.
And Miley.
I put my hands up playing my song, the butterflies fly away. Yeah, 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 it's a party in the USA. This is what you guys call music?
So pretty good, right? Sounds like Johnny Cash. It's not Johnny Cash. It's completely done with computer and AI. So this is the technology we're fighting against. So here's some real life examples from some really brave victims. They use people that are public figures. In this instance, it's a well-known Air Force general. And they take their images and their videos online and they use them to add voice, add audio, to target individuals, create relationships. See if I can get this video working here for me.
Good morning, honey. Please, you're getting me worried. Please, I want you to talk to me. I don't care about my money anymore. All I care about right now is you please respond to my text. I really can do. Without talking to you, please. I love you so much, honey.
Right? So when you look at this, it's a little choppy, a little grainy. But if you think about when these situations are used, this is an Air Force general. Maybe they are overseas. Maybe they don't have access to internet. We have real life situations where that is the case, where there are videos like this, even in my house, that the internet connection goes down and it gets all weird and choppy like this. This is not unusual for scammers to use this, and this is the low-end technology they're using. Now they can take a video, 30 seconds of text or a voice, and create a whole person and change everything in real time as they're talking to you. See if I can get it to go. Oh. Hold on.
But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus all my attention, all my time on listening. So instead of doing something else, I just listened, and listened. Because I'm a true believer that if you're really bad at something like listening, for example, it only shows you that, hey, you have to practice listening as much as you can.
We introduce VASA, a framework for generating lifelike talking faces with appealing visual effective skills, given a single static image and a speech audio clip. Our model is capable of not only producing lip movements that are exquisitely synchronized with the audio, but also capturing a large spectrum of facial nuances and natural head motions that contribute to the perception of authenticity and liveliness. The core innovations include a holistic facial dynamics and head movement generation model that works in a face latent space, and the development of such an expressive and disentangled face latent space using videos.
So I don't show you this to scare you. I show you this because this is the technology that is out there that we should be aware of. It can be used for a lot of good things, but in the wrong hands, if you're not questioning things, when you have that gut feeling and something feels off, just keep in mind that this is the type of technology that is out there. So we're going to move on to some cyber wellness best practices, some things that you can do to help take care of yourself and your devices. So first, let's talk about passwords. I know the passwords feel overwhelming and daunting. And every time someone tells you that you got to change your passwords, you're like, again, really? Are you kidding me? But when we talk about the data breaches and the compromises that are out there, they're not doing us any favors. The top most common passwords in 2024, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. QWERTY, that's like across the keyboard, like you just go straight across, right? Password. These are not clever. Everyone uses them, and the scammers know this. The fraudsters know this, right? Let's do ourselves better justice. We need to make our passwords long, at least 16 characters. Make them unique. Never reuse, share, or recycle passwords across platforms. If you use the same password on your Facebook that you're using at your bank, you are giving the scammers the keys to the castle. As soon as they log into your Facebook and get it, then they're onto your bank. Don't make it that easy, okay? Use password phrases. Something like, Marmaduke is a sloppy dog. And then you change the letters and to numbers and characters, like A's to @ symbols and S to $signs, things like that, right? A phrase that you can remember, but adds complexity and length. Use uppercase, lowercase, number, spaces, special characters, and use randomly generated passwords by computers. Here's a tip, computers are a lot better at being random than we are. And use a password manager. So a password manager is a database that's going to store your usernames and your passwords for sites, applications. It'll store login credentials, and you can use them as you need them. So if you are comfortable with technology, password managers are the safest alternative to doing something like saving it in the notepad on your phone. Anybody do that? Is anybody in this room saving their passwords on that little like notepad function? Don't do that. It's not secured in any way, shape, or form. They get into your phone and all your passwords are right there for them, okay? If technology makes you squirmy, and some of my IT folks are like, la, 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 don't say this, right? But hear me out. If technology makes you squirmy, the safest thing for you, honestly, could be a notepad, a notebook, and a piece of paper and a pen. But the big tip to this is do not carry it around with you. If you have to carry it around with you, you need to find something more secure. If you're using pen and paper, it needs to be stored at home in a vault, locked up, okay? Otherwise, look at a password manager. You're gonna have a master password. It's gonna be a long password. You'll enter it every couple weeks. It's going to help keep regenerating that security for you. And it's always going to provide you more unique and complex passwords that you don't have to think about creating. So how do you pick a password manager? Look at consumer reviews. Do a Google search. Look what's being used, what are people's favorites, what's out there. Know how they're protecting your information. Do they use triple level encryption, double? What are they using to protect you? How do they communicate updates and data breach information? This to me is huge because these companies have a lot of data and a lot of information. They're going to be targets for attack. But what's important is if they have an attack, how fast are they telling you about it so you can go in and do things like change your master password or update the things that have been compromised so there's no impact on you. And then consider what features are important to you. You know, do you want encryption? Does price matter? Do you want an identity manager as well? How about a VPN? A lot of times people ask us, what do we recommend for a password manager? So here are recommendations. These are the ones that Jamie and I both use, like, recommend to people to use. Solid companies all have either a free version or a trial version that you can kind of test it out, see if you like it, and all of them have solid encryption. Okay? The next thing you can do for yourself is use passkeys whenever available. So a passkey is a way to log in without a password. They're going to use your phone or another supported device that you've marked as trusted that you have to use to say that you are you before you're allowed into your app or account. So for example, let's say I'm logging into my Google account on my work computer. It's not a computer I use very often. Normally, I have my phone as my trusted device. So there's going to be a notification that pops up after I enter my username and password that says you need to validate your passkey. So I have to go into my phone, my actual phone, open up the application and click a button that comes up and say, yes, it's me. So there's a lot of security that happens behind the scenes when it comes to passkeys. They offer the strongest form of protection. They're a really great alternative to passwords. And they create a unique ID to each device, account, application, or website. They're definitely more resistant to phishing. Right now, they're probably one of the best things out there because you actually have to have the physical device right now to do that. And they're private. All of the keys and the connections and everything that's being done on the backside to create that security connection is actually housed on your device. It's not housed with the application you're visiting or the website you're visiting. It's on your device. And this is really the future of authentication. Microsoft, Google have already adapted these. Amazon, other companies are really getting on board. So passkeys, you're really going to use your device lock, like your fingerprint, face, PIN, or pattern. So that's one of the big things that's important is you need to make sure your devices are locked so other people can't get into them. Okay? Another best practice is using multi-factor. It goes by many names: two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, two-step factor authentication, MFA, 2FA. They all mean the same thing. It's opting into an extra step of protection that's going to use information to help validate that you are you, besides your username and password. So it's going to ask you something you know, like a PIN number, or a security question like your sister's middle name. It's going to look for something you have, like an authentication application, or sending a text or email with a verification code. Or it's going to be something you are. It's going to ask for that fingerprint, Face ID to help validate you. Now, two-factor authentication is really great. Highly recommend using it. It is also susceptible to social engineering and account takeover. So if you have your email compromised, you don't have a strong password, they're able to get into it, they send a two-factor authentication code to your email, it gets you into your other accounts, right? So make sure the two-factor authentication you're using is also strongly protected on the other end. I recommend phone over email whenever possible. Because it's a lot harder to get into your phone. It can be done, but it's a lot harder than your email account. So when we look at other cyber wellness best practices, let's talk about safe browsing. So public Wi-Fi networks or hotspots in coffee shops, malls, airports, or other places that are convenient In the early days of the internet, we're completely unsecured. They're getting a little bit better, but if you're using public Wi-Fi and you're going online, you're potentially putting your information at risk. So most public Wi-Fi does not have passwords. And when it does, the passwords are given out freely to everyone in the space, which means anybody can be on the network. Nothing's protected. So anywhere you're visiting is open to anybody on that network. So things you can do. First, let's talk about what you shouldn't do. So don't install any systems, applications, updates, anything onto your phone or computer while you're on public Wi-Fi. Don't access your email, social media networks, online shopping, or bank while you're on a public Wi-Fi. And don't configure your devices to automatically connect to public Wi-Fi without you being alerted that it's going to connect. What can you do? So use extra caution when you're verifying a provider and you're connecting to somebody's Wi-Fi network. And always use a trusted VPN to secure your device and your traffic. If you have any concerns about anything that comes up when you're out on someone's Wi-Fi, make sure you bring it to their attention or the police. And whenever possible, use your mobile data instead. Now, do not come from me like months from now and say, Stephanie, I used my mobile data and now my bill's $500. Look at your plan, figure out what your data plan says you can do. If you have unlimited data, you're in the clear. If you don't, use caution. But anytime you can use your data instead of Wi-Fi, it's going to be more secure for you. And then the other thing is, not all public Wi-Fi is equal, right? So the credit union here has public Wi-Fi. We don't use a password, but the network here and the security here is really tight because our team is constantly monitoring the traffic and what's going on. Would I sign on here? Yes. Would I sign on at the airport? Absolutely not. Not without a VPN, which we'll go into. So, looking at secure, safe browsing, when we look at networks and websites, look for the HTTPS versus HTTP. You're looking for that secure for a website. Now, this isn't foolproof, but what the S means is that they've had to pay money to obtain that website. Scammers that have high target agendas will pay the money for it, but it's one layer that you can look into when you're evaluating a website. Use a VPN. So I've said VPN a few times. What is that? So a VPN is going to mask your IP address, and it's going to create kind of like a bubble or a shield around you and your devices in your network. So anything that's going to go through it, it's going to encrypt out. Any information coming in, it's going to filter and review. So it kind of creates this shield of protection between you and the internet or the network and anybody else that might be out on it looking to get your data, your privacy, your information. Okay? Encrypt sensitive information. VPNs are great for encryption. They will help you encrypt information in and out. But when you are sending out things through email, like a PDF document, it needs to be encrypted and secured with a password. PDF automatically has that built in. There's security features. Make sure you're using it. And then make sure you're using antivirus regularly. This is going to help detect, prevent, remove viruses and malware from your devices. It's going to scan them. It's going to block annoying and dangerous pop-ups. And in real time, it's going to vet sites and things that you're going to. All right, so securing your personal devices. You need to have some sort of antivirus software on your device. So when you're looking at an antivirus software and you're trying to pick one out, look for something that does real-time scanning and updates, that you have access to support, you're able to actually remove infections when they find them, look at what it's protecting, make sure that it's going to protect the devices that you're actually using it for and want it to protect, and then do you get both protection and performance? It can be great if you have something with really strong protection, but if it slows your device down, it doesn't do you any good. When it comes to Apple or Android, I get the question a lot of which is safer. So from a fraud stance and a security stance, I will always recommend an iPhone for the everyday user. Android people, don't come for me, right? I know you love your devices, but unless you are somebody who loves technology, you want to mess around with the settings, you understand the security behind the device, There's just so many things that you can change and turn on and off in your Android device that you can't do on your iPhone. iPhones are a lot more user-friendly in that sense, and they have a lot more built-in security for the everyday user. When it comes to firewalls, let me go back quick. When it comes to Android devices, if you're looking for an antivirus, a good one to look at is Total AV and Bitdefender. Those are great antiviruses for Androids and iPhones if you want to add one. Malwarebytes good too for both of those. Malwarebytes is great for Android and iPhone, as well as Total AV for iPhone.
How about Norton?
We'll come back to Norton. Somebody said, what about Norton? We'll come back. It's on my list. So I was going to say the top rated companies by Forbes for this year are Total AV, Norton, Bitdefender, McAfee, Surface Shark, Aura, and then Malwarebytes. Okay, so there's a whole list of them, and really it just comes down to looking at the reviews, figuring out what you need for your devices, your price point, like what things are important to you. We talk about firewalls. Firewalls are going to provide protection against outside cyber attacks, and they're going to shield your devices and your computer from unnecessary network traffic and malicious activity. For phones, both Android and iPhone have built-in firewalls. So you're really looking at this for your computers at home and your iPads and things like that. Encryption, again, super important to make sure that your data that you are sending out that's on your devices is protected. Each device is going to have their own encryption policies, guidelines, features. So depending on the device, you're going to have to go through and look up each device and figure out what it offers, what it can do, what it's providing. With your phone, the big thing, again, I've said before with encryption is making sure your phone is locked. There are so many people that don't have a PIN or Face ID or a pattern or something on their device. All the encryption in the world cannot protect you if this is unlocked, okay? And then backing up data. Whoop, too fast. Backing up data. So we talk about backing up data. Really, we're recommending that you're moving information from your device to a backup source that's going to protect it in case of a disaster, an accident, or a malicious attack. So really, you should be doing this every 24 hours. Most of us, that's not realistic. They recommend once a week. But when it comes to backing up data, the more often you do it, the less hassle in the event that something happens that you have to worry. Like, oh, I just backed up my phone last night. I guess I only have to worry about this morning, okay? Or did you back it up like 6 months ago or a year ago, and now you've lost all of your photos for an entire year, okay? So some of the things you can use for backup are going to be an external hard drive, a USB flash drive, cloud storage, or online backup services, or a combination of all of this. Just depends. All right, so when we talk about best practices for software updates, so software updates and patching are going to keep your applications and your devices secure from breaches. Get into the habit of making sure that you're constantly checking for updates on your devices. It's a really great habit, and it's going to make sure that you are secure and ahead of the fraudsters. And don't rely on automatic updates. It's very easy to turn that feature on and then forget about it. But if you're not connecting to Wi-Fi, if you're not connecting to your home network often and an important update comes out, it's not going to automatically push that update, which means your device could be vulnerable. So a patch is going to repair a piece of program that either has a functionality issue or a security vulnerability. So it's really important that if you're getting those updates, that those patches are coming through. Patches also can add new features too. And then, yeah, software updates are really critical for staying ahead of emerging threats and that your devices are not left vulnerable or open to attack. The biggest thing I see in this, and I just found out I am now guilty of it myself, is letting your devices go outdated. And I say that with hashtags because I have a Chromebook. It's fairly recent in my head. I found out it's 8 to 10 years old, but it still feels new to me because it works fine. I haven't had any issues with it. But I now know it can no longer receive a critical update. So as much as that Chromebook still works just fine, it is now garbage to me because I cannot protect it properly or protect my information properly on it. So the same thing goes for your phones. These are mini computers. They are very easy to let these go out of date, and if you're not able to get like the recent security update on it, it's time for a new one. And I hate to say that because I know these are not cheap and neither are computers, but it's a really important piece of your security. Best practices for securing online transactions. We've talked about some of this already, making sure you're using a secure connection and that it's encrypted. Use your strong passwords. Enable two-factor authentication. Shop with reputable retailers. Make sure you're doing your research on who you're shopping with and checking their website links. Even go as far as like once you get to the page, look at where their contact information is and how you get a hold of them if there's an issue, because sometimes that's a big clue. I found sites that'll say it like has like the template information in it for like the page design, so there's really no contact information. Use a credit card. Oh, beware of sponsored linked, so the Google ads with the sponsor, beware of those. Use a credit card. Credit cards are going to offer you maximum protection for issues with orders or if you have fraud, as well as it's going to link you to a loan versus your direct bank account. And then utilize transaction alerts and order alerts. For your bank, for companies that you're purchasing things with, set up the alerts so that you know when stuff is coming and where it's at in the progress or what transactions are coming through that should be or shouldn't be. And the one that's not listed in my bullets but is down here is make sure you're monitoring your bank accounts. Email and text safety. So recognizing phishing attempts. So always use caution when you're opening up any type of email, text message, phone call, anything that's going to generate like that strong emotional response. If you weren't expecting it, don't open it and work to verify it first. If it creates fear, excitement, panic, anything that triggers you, right? If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Handle all emails, texts, and calls as suspicious until proven legitimate. As you can see with the technology we have, this is kind of where we are now in the world. Everything should be proven legitimate first. If you get a text message, go to the website, call the customer support to verify what they're asking. And if you do happen to click on something, contact a professional IT person right away. I'm talking like somebody like Jamie, who is advanced cyber certified, right? Geek Squad, someone like that. I'm not talking about your neighbor next door who's really great with computers, okay? Maybe they are cyber certified, I don't know, that's fine. But it's not your everyday people who are just good with computers. This stuff can go really bad really fast, so you want somebody who knows what they're doing to check your devices and make sure they're safe to use. And then remember, slam the scam. So the SSA has a whole thing about slam the scam, and they look at the sender. So check the phone number, check the email, like see where it's coming from. Look at the links. What are the links, like hover over them? Where are they gonna take you? If you've got multiple links in a message, are they all taking you to the exact same place? Is the link that says click here to secure your account taking you to the place that says unsubscribe? Are they the same? Look at attachments. Were you expecting an attachment? And then look at the message content. Misspelling, grammar, urgency. With AI, again, writing these phishing emails and things is a lot easier for our non-English speaking scammers. So picking out those like translation issues isn't as easy, right? So really thoroughly scan the body of the email. And then social media and online privacy. So our social media accounts can be a huge asset to our connection with our community, our friends, our loved ones. But depending on what you're putting out there, it can also be a vulnerability. So make sure that you're aware of the information that you're being shared, who you're sharing it with. Is it an open Facebook page or is it a private? And what information is being shared? And then look at your friends. The big thing I always tell people is only accept friends with people you actually physically know in person. Like these random friend requests from people across the world that you've never met, chances are they're a scammer. But then who are your friends? Like, what are your friends' privacy settings? Are your friends' privacy settings creating vulnerabilities for you? Are they tagging you in a post that now your picture, your name, whatever information they put in that post, like maybe you're on a trip to Cancun with a bunch of friends and they've tagged you. And now everybody on the internet knows that you're in Cancun and your house is undetected and unprotected. Okay, so what are your friends sharing about you? So look at your privacy settings for all your applications. Banks, social media, DoorDash, all of these platforms. The National Cybersecurity Alliance has a great list that you can go to, and it'll walk you through all the different privacy settings for lots of different spaces. You know, food delivery, dating, health, email, mobile banking. They do a great job of giving you a list. Limit and restrict app permissions for third-party applications. So a lot of third-party applications like to connect to your account through your social media. Oh, sign up here with your Facebook account. Well, what information are you giving them by allowing them to do that? All of your information and all of your digital community's information. So make sure you're looking at those third-party apps, like that fun game you wanted to play or that little quiz you wanted to take. Are you then giving them all your information? So go through and remove anybody that's untrusted or unused anymore. And then look at your location sharing. Apps are really great at picking out where, you know, oh, Stephanie's at Starbucks. Okay, you don't need the entire world to know where you are all the time. It creates vulnerabilities for you in the real world. So look at your security settings and make sure that they're set for your location sharing, what you're comfortable with. And then again, make sure we've talked about just sharing private information. They ask a lot of information on your profile pages, like where do you live? Where did you graduate? What high school did you go to? All of that information is stuff that's used for your security questions in your data. These breaches are not doing us any favors. And some of the information we put on our social media is the most private stuff about us, things that we use to create our passwords, things we use as our security questions. So by making sure we're limiting that information can increase our security on the offline world. And then private internet connections. We've talked about not surfing social media on a public Wi-Fi. So reporting and knowledge. So I'm a big advocate for education and reporting. The more we report these types of scams and incidences and things you experience, the better we can do as a country, as a community to help fight fraud. So IC3.gov is really great for reporting. FTC and the BBB all have awesome education as well as the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, AARP Fraud Watch Network, and then the NCUA's My Credit Union. Do we have any questions? Oh, come on, somebody's got to have a question.
That's a lot of information.
I know, it's a lot of information. I know, it's a lot to cover in an hour, too.
You did good.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed.
Anything online? Okay. Well, just know if you have questions that come up after you kind of process and download the information, I'm happy to, you can reach out to me at any point in time and we can answer questions. Okay.